This prison story right here is about when the guards did me dirty. And when I said they did me dirty, they did your boy Donta dirty. They put a gay man in my cell.
Ah, shit. Here we go again.
I'm in the day room, right? And I heard about this gay dude named Peanut, right? Now, everybody been talking about Peanut because Peanut was one of them type of dudes that, you know, he was one of them type of gay guys that always was in drama. He always was in somebody's business. He had I guess a boyfriend up in there, whatever, this straight, well, I can't even call him, he ain't straight. The dude was like, I guess the man in the relationship or whatever, he was a hitter, he was a killer, right? But they used to always get into it. And I used to wonder, like, you know, you would see this dude, they call him Big George too. And, you know, Big George, you know, he be knocking dudes out, you know, running up on cats, shaking cats down. He was like zero tolerance, like zero nonsense. But when it came to Peanut, this dude always submitted. You know what I'm saying? It's like Peanut always brought out the bitch out of, you know, Big George. You know, it'd be like, he'd be like, baby, I'm sorry, baby. That, like, I don't know, man, it was really weird. But anyway, so we all in the day room. And like y'all know, every Tuesday we get new inmates that's coming in there. Now, y'all got to understand, yes, we get new inmates every Tuesday, but sometimes they not new inmates. Sometimes these guys is being, you know, they rotate people from different pods. They rotate people from different dorms, right? And especially if you are a problem inmate, you understand? So Peanut was a part of this rotation, right? And he was kind of like a Tom and Jerry thing with Big George and Peanut, right? Every time Peanut get moved on one side of the prison, George ended up trying to get moved to another on the same side to get next to Peanut, right? So anyway, here comes Peanut. Peanut comes strolling through. Now, at this time when you come in, right, as you a new inmate coming into any dorm or any pod or whatever, you got to line up. You know, when you walk through the door, you got to go to the right and just line up right there so you can get your cell assignment. They typically already know what cell you going into before you even get there, but sometimes the guards don't be doing their job, right? Now, I knew for a fact, now at this time, it was only 3 people that came in. It was Peanut, this white dude, and this black dude, right? So I knew that I was going to get one of these guys. I already knew it. I knew off the jump that one of these cats was coming in there. Little did I know, Peanut was going to get put in my cell. So as they doing inventory, because they do inventory right there in front of everybody, see what you got right there. So they doing inventory and Peanut just keep looking back. He keep looking back, like rolling his eyes. You know what I'm saying? Y'all know how them cats do it. He just looking back at everybody, rolling, like smacking his mouth and all that. I'm like, man, look at this dude here, man. So the first guy, the white dude, he get his cell assignment first. And now my cell was up on the second tier, 3rd room from the stairs, right? So the white guy, he get his cell assignment. He goes to his cell, right? So I said, okay, he got a cell right there. Then the black dude, he get his cell assignment and he comes upstairs and he go to his cell. Now it's just Peanut left, right? And it's me and this other cat that don't got no cellmate. So, you know, I'm getting nervous at this point. I'm like, man, hold up, man. I know, man, no, this ain't gonna happen. No, he ain't coming to my, no, that ain't happening. So you know what I do? I instantly go over there to the guard. I'm like, hey, listen, can I talk to y'all right quick? And they like, what's up? I said, hey, I need to talk to you over here. So he said, what's up? I said, listen, you know, Peanut, Peanut can't come in my cell, man. He gonna have to go to another cell. He was like, hey, listen, Donta, you don't make the rules here. If you don't want him in your cell, and, you know, you can go to the hole. Cause, hey, I said, listen, man, there's another room open, man. He can go in that cell, man. But just come on, man. Don't do me like that. He like, hey, listen, I ain't in charge of that. You're going to have to take that up with the sergeant, but you already know what the sergeant going to say. You can go to the hole if you don't want him in your cell. So I said, all right, man. So I walked off and I went to my cell, right? Now, in hindsight, y'all, I may have made a crucial mistake by even bringing light to the situation. Maybe if I didn't go down there running my damn mouth, the guards would have never put him in my cell. They wouldn't have never even had me in mind. You know what I'm saying? So I may have opened up a can of worms for even going down there trying to put him on somebody else. But and you know what? Time out. I already know how some of you busters is in the comment section. Y'all, I already knew what y'all gonna say. Y'all like, oh, Donta faking. Donta wanted him in his cell. That's why he tried to do the reverse psychology of saying, oh, I don't want him in my cell, but really I do want him in my cell. So that way they'll put him in my cell. See, I know how y'all think. I know how you dudes think. Tell me if I'm wrong. Tell me if I'm wrong. I know I'm right, and y'all know I'm right, because a lot of you cats out there, a lot of y'all be wanting to see me in a bad light. A lot of y'all want me to be in these messed up predicaments. But you know what? I got something for all of y'all, but we gonna keep that on the hush. Anyway, so about 10 minutes later, here it go. Peanut, right there in front of my door. And I'm sitting there on the bed, and I'm looking at it. He just walked right in. I was like, oh, hell no. He was like, what you mean? Oh, hell no. You got a problem? I said, no, man, no, So I got up and I went to the left. Boom. It was two guards standing right there. One had a smirk on his face. I said, come on, man. Why would y'all do that, man? And I was like, hey, I told you, man, either go to the hole or you gotta, hey, that's just what it is. Now, keep in mind, y'all, I just came from the hole a whole month ago. And I was in there for 3 months. I'm not trying to go back to the hole. You can't get no commissary. You can't get on the phone but once a week, and that's only for 20 minutes, if that, right? They give you, man, I wasn't going back to the hole, and definitely not because of Peanut. You know what I mean? So I said, man, come on, y'all. Why y'all got to do me like that? Can I get out of this cell and cell up with the other guy that ain't got no cellmate? They're like, no, man. Hey, stay out of prison. You should never did what you did to get in prison. So you got to deal with the consequences. So I'm like, man. I said, all right, man. So I go back in the cell and Peanut is sitting on my bed. I said, hey, man, you got to get up. He was like, well, I didn't know what bed was mine. I mean, they both was made up, and I didn't want to put my stuff up yet. I said, hey, man, won't you chill out, man? Why you got all that tone? Why you got all that attitude, man? He like, because I already see you talking about hell and all of this, and you going out. I heard what you said, talking about you don't want me in your cell. If you don't want me in the cell, you can leave, because I ain't going nowhere. I said, hey, man, listen, look, all right, look. You got the top bunk. I got the bottom bunk. Man, just stay out my way, man. So I walked out the cell. He was like, so he came out the cell and was like, what you mean? Stay out your way. What you mean, stay out your way? I ain't do nothing to you. I'm tired of y'all so-called straight man always trying to dog me out. And y'all, you ain't gonna talk to me like I'm some type of bitch. You ain't gonna talk to me like I'm some type of bitch. I said, hey, man, so at this point, y'all, when I say everybody in this pod is looking up here, everybody is looking up here, right? Looking right at us. So I said, you know what? I just walked off. So my homeboy Tar T rolled up on me. He said, man, Donta, what's going on, man? I said, man, they got Peanut in my cell, man. He was like, man, hey. I said, man, I know, man. I said, man, hey, this ain't gonna work, man. This ain't gonna work. This ain't gonna work at all, man. That dude ain't standing. Dude ain't, man, no, Now, I know a lot of y'all is probably wondering, yo, Donta, why you so bent out of shape about Peanut being in your cell, man? Listen, man, out here in the real world, in the free world, that stuff might be acceptable to be around cats like that. But in the penitentiary, nah, that's a no-go. And I'm going to tell you why. Now, if you are a guy that rock and roll like that, you know what I'm saying, that's playing for the other side, you know, a resident, a Solomon of Gomorrah, you know what I mean? And let me say that again. That might win over a couple of y'all heads. If you play military mind games like that, or you are a permanent resident of Sodom and Gomorrah, then yeah, go ahead. You can be in a cell with a cat like that. You can fraternize with a dude like that. You can walk the yard with dudes like that. You can even sit at the lunch table with dudes like that. Hell, you can be in a cell with a dude like that. But y'all see the problem here? Y'all see the problem? I'm not no resident of Sodom and Gomorrah. I don't play for the other side. I have no business conversating with this dude. I damn sure have no business being cellmates with this cat, right? So I'm like, man, this is a bad look. Now, I know a couple of y'all might be thinking like, oh, Donta homophobic. No. I ain't homophobic. I'm not. I'm really not. Because I know what y'all thinking. Oh, yes. No, I'm not. I'm going to tell y'all. See, in prison, it's like this. I truly believe that birds of a feather flock together. And what I mean by that is, let's say you a new inmate and you out here hanging with all these gay guys and you not gay. What do you think other men is going to think? And I know some of y'all going to say, well, we adults. You shouldn't care what other men think about. Oh, yes, you see. Y'all keep forgetting. This is prison. It's a really weird world inside of a world that we call the terror dome. So birds of a feather flock together. And what happens is if other cats see you rocking and rolling and, conversating and walking the yard and being friendly with this guy, they going to automatically think like, yo, he must be gay too. He must, either be on the low or he down with it. And then you'll get cats in secret that'll roll up on you and, try to put down on you and be trying to, make you their prison wife in sort of sense. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I said, and then, cats in prison, they gossip. They gossip like a mug. You give somebody one little inch, they'll take a whole foot. You know what I'm saying? So you just got to check all that, man. You just got to be careful and I guess that goes with, conversate with gang members too. If you ain't a gang member, you just got to watch the company that you keep, and that's all I'm saying. And gay guy, nah. But anyway, so I'm sitting down there and you just hear him. You hear him up there singing, right? And this man, I ain't gonna lie. Peanut did have a voice on him. I ain't gonna hate on him. It's a lot of bad stuff that I could say about Peanut, but he could sing, and I'm gonna tell you, he was singing Beauty and the Beast. Y'all remember Beauty and the Beast, the Disney cartoon? I hear him. He like, tale as old as time, something it can be, just a little chance. Something, Beauty and the Beast. I said, what the I said, man, okay. Yeah, this definitely ain't gonna work, man. So you hear cats like, hey, man, keep singing. They was making a joke out of it. And all I'm thinking is, cats looking at me like, man, hey, you got to deal with this. I say, you know what? Nah, no, ain't no way. So I roll up there, right? And as soon as I hit the door, he got a sheet up. He got a white sheet up. Now, keep in mind, y'all, Peanut is not new to prison. Peanut, he been down for at least 6 years by now. So he know how to, jail. He know how to convict. You know what I'm saying? He know how to move around in the cell. So when you got a white sheet up, you know what I'm saying? You want your extra privacy. Now, I don't know what Peanut was doing behind that white sheet, but when I hit the cell and it was up, I instantly turned around and walked the other way, right? Because I didn't want to see what Peanut was doing. Peanut was just singing, and Peanut got the white sheet up. So I said, you know what? I'm going to have to let Peanut know right now, because what I was thinking Peanut was doing, I thought Peanut had somebody in the cell. I thought somebody done ducked off in the cell with Peanut, right? And I wasn't going for that at all. Negative. So I tell him, I peeked my head back in my car. I said, hey, Peanut, man, who is somebody in the cell with you? He was like, nah, ain't nobody in here, man. I'm changing my clothes. What, you gonna see something or something? I said, hey, man, listen. I said, hey, check this out, Peanut. Look, you ain't about to play with me like that, man. He like, ain't nobody playing with you. I can't be in the cell. This is my home too. I said, listen, Peanut, don't have nobody in the cell. Do not have nobody in the cell, man. Whatever you got going on, or you know what I'm saying? Man, go to the shower or whatever, man. Don't. I said, you know what? You got it, Peanut. This ain't gonna work out. So I go back down to the control booth. I said, hey, listen, y'all. I can't be in the cell with this dude. He just doing too much. And I know the alternative. I'm gonna have to go to the hole until y'all find me a cell assignment. But there's another cell that's open. Can I just go in there, man? Because I won't be able to survive the night with this dude, man. They like, listen, Donta, I said, listen, there is another cell that's open. Can y'all just put me in there? Y'all can leave him in there. I'm good. I'm good with that. They said, well, we can't move you right now. So, this ain't Burger King. You can't have it your way. But we'll let the shift commander know, and we'll, put that order in for you to get moved tomorrow. So I said, all right, man. So I go back upstairs and I go to the cell. Peanut is not in there. I don't even know where Peanut went, right? So Peanut got all this stuff neatly on the desk. Now there's one thing I can say about Peanut. Peanut was like a cleaning guy. He was like what is that word when you got to make sure everything is right? You got to make sure dang, I forgot the name of that word. But anyway, he them type of guys that got to have the label showing and everything got to be in order. I cannot think. I see it in my brain, but I can't. Dang, I forgot that word. But anyway, but that's why Peanut was, right? So Peanut, I'm laying down and I said, you know what? Peanut might not be a bad cellmate. Well, I'm going to talk to this guy when he get back. So I lay down and I just doze off, right? I don't know, was I tired that day? I don't know if, me dealing with Peanut in our first initial meet, had me tired out or whatever, pause. But, I was tired. I was so tired that I went to sleep for 3 hours. And when I woke up, the cell door was closed and the lights was off in the main tier, meaning we are on lockdown for the night. And that means Peanut is on the top bunk. So my anxiety started rising. And I said, hey man, you up there? He said, yeah, I'm up here. I said, dang, how long was I asleep? He was like, I don't know, maybe like 2 hours or something. I don't know. I said, oh, okay. Peanut was like, you want something to eat? I said, do I want something to eat? He said, yeah, I made me a cook up. You want something to eat? I said, nah, I'm okay. And he was like, Mo be fun. I said, what? He said, I said, Mo be fun. More for me. I said, oh, okay. Now, I ain't gonna lie, y'all. Whatever Peanut made up there was smelling good. Yeah, I ain't gonna front, y'all. Whatever Peanut made up there, that was smelling good in the mug. So, I rolled up out the bed and I went to the sink to get some water. And I said, man, what you got up there? He was like, oh, I made me some chili. I said, what you put all up in there? He was like, well, I got the summer sausages in there. I got the chili. I got some onions. I said, wait, where you get some onions from? He said, man, I get everything and anything I want in here. I said, oh, so you got a little plug in the kitchen or something? He was like, yeah, of course I do. I get anything I want. I said, well, shoot, let me get some of that chili. He was like, oh, I thought you ain't want none. I said, nah, man, shoot, I ain't gonna lie, man. Chili do smell good. So he hopped off the bunk and he went to his cooler and he put me some in a bowl. So I said, man, Peanut, man, what you do to get up in here, man? It was like, man, my brothers, whatever, they was robbing banks and I was the getaway driver. And, well, I'm here. That's basically, I was just a getaway driver. I said, hey, let me ask you a question, Peanut. Was you always like that? Like, was you always, gay? He was like, yeah, I always been gay, but I mean, do that matter? I said, no, I ain't saying that in a disrespectful way. I'm just curious, like, have you ever been straight? He was like, I don't really want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it. I said, oh, okay. So I said, all right. I said, well, man, this Jake Mac is really good, man. He like, I said, how you learn how to do these cook-ups like this? He was like, man, I don't know. I just knew how to cook. My grandmother taught me how to cook. So, I mean, it's not really that hard. It just needs, a couple of seasons and vegetables, and I put onions and everything. I said, oh, okay. So at this point, y'all, I'm thinking to myself, like, you know what? Peanut is not really even that bad. Yeah, Peanut is drama filled and, Peanut always keeping up drama and stuff like that. But, you know what I'm saying? Peanut was like a human being. You know what I'm saying? And then for a minute, as me and Peanut was talking, I forgot that Peanut, was, one of them type of people or whatever. So we just talking And I'm like, all right, man, I'm about to go to sleep. So about 10 minutes to go by, and Peanut was like, hey, can I talk to you? I said, what's up? He was like, when you asked me, was I always gay? I didn't really want to talk about it, but, why not? I said, what's going on? He was like, well, okay. So when I was 8 years old, if there was a church that was right next door to me, and I used to go to the church, and basically one day the pastor, I can't say the word, y'all, due to YouTube policies and regulations, but he said that the pastor basically took advantage of him. And he said basically this went on for like a whole month when he was 8 years old. And he said that eventually his mama found out what was going on or whatever, and she was a member of the church, and I guess they just swept it under the rug. Yeah, they just swept it under the rug. And Peanut didn't get no therapy, Peanut didn't get no counseling. So this pastor, this so-called man of God, ended up taking advantage of Peanut, and he just basically got turned out in that way. And so when he's telling me this, now I'm kind of feeling bad. You know what I'm saying? I'm feeling bad for Peanut at this point, because I'm thinking like, Peanut, I didn't know that happened to Peanut. I'm thinking Peanut was just like that from the get-go. You know what I'm saying? But I guess a lot of these guys that end up like Peanut is because somebody did something to them at a young age. I guess trauma. They never healed from their trauma, and you know what I'm saying? And so nowadays, that's why I be kind of like, y'all don't be so judgmental about these type of cats, because all these dudes got a story. You know what I'm saying? So I felt real bad when Peanut said that, man. And I didn't say anything. So I said, yeah, that's messed up, bro. So Peanut was like, yeah, well, that's history. I said, what's up with that pastor though? Is he still alive or whatever? He said, yeah, he's still alive, and I'm gonna kill him when I get out. I said, what? He said, yeah, I already made my mind up. I already made my peace with God. When I get out of here, I'm gonna kill him. I said, oh, okay. If you enjoyed this story time, make sure you leave me a tip. Also, if you forgot to hit the like button, make sure y'all smash that like button and share this video and hype the video. Make sure y'all check out my Amazon wish list. I got some items in there that I need purchased. So y'all make sure y'all look out for y'all big partner. If you can't get enough of these stories, I made another channel. I'm gonna have that link pinned at the top of the comment section too, and in the description. Until next time, take care.